Good morning. This is Danny Daniels. Today is Wednesday, May 29th. It's almost the first of the month, so y'all need to get ready to pay that rent and pay those mortgages. I'm prepared to pay mine. Hallelujah. Thank you. Anywho, it's a gorgeous day outside. I'm squinting a little bit because while it's overcast, the sun, the glare is still in my eyes. I wish I could wear shades, but I don't like wearing my contacts. So even if I did wear my contacts, if I wore my contacts, I wouldn't be able to record because I wouldn't be able to see worth a darn. I had a wonderful morning, a wonderful start to my day this morning. I woke up with the prayer requests, and then shortly after that, I spoke with a wonderful, good person in my life, and we were talking about a purpose life, having purpose in your life. So I recall a few years ago, I was talking to my daughter's counselor, my youngest baby. She had a counselor. And I was talking to her counselor, and her counselor said that she didn't believe in God. And she called me in for a session. She said, I wanted to talk to you because I admire the relationship that you have with your daughter. The two of you are very close, and I really have never seen anything like this. But she said, what confuses me is that your daughter says that you heavily believe in God, and she does not. I said, mm-hmm. And she says, so how does that work? I said, well, a house divided cannot stand. And she goes, exactly. So that's why I'm asking you, how does that work? You're a strong believer. She says you pray all the time, and she doesn't really like it. And she goes, and I kind of agree with her. I don't understand that. I said, I'll tell you why I believe in God. I believe in God first and foremost because I have experienced God for myself. I have experienced a higher power, and I know that if it were not for some supernatural force, I wouldn't be here today. And I have heard a word of knowledge spoken into my mind and whispered into my ear. And I have a relationship with God. And my daughter, I'll fill in the gap for her, because as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So while she's running around talking about what she don't believe in, I got my baby covered. I'll fill in the gap for her. I think I mentioned it once before, that someday, she would get knocked off her ass and hear a word whispered in her ear from God. Who was that he knocked off the ass on his way to Damascus? Was that Peter? Peter or Paul? One of them. Anyway, I don't get caught up in all of that. And I won't force or shove the concept, principle, or knowledge of God down my child's throat or anybody's throat. That is unacceptable. I also believe that's evil. It's evil to impose your will upon someone else. But do I really believe that at that time that my daughter didn't believe? No, she was going through something. She was having a struggle in her life. And she's like, well, if there's a God, then why am I going through this? Why aren't my prayers being answered? If there is a God, where is he? And she's the type of person, she's very intuitive. And then she's extremely intelligent. And you're not going to pull the wool over her eyes. And, when she makes a decision, she makes it quite decidedly. And that's how it's going to be for her. And she'll work out whatever she needs to work out. She comes to me and she has questions. And I said, I've been through this with my daughter. And I told her why I believe in God. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I've already answered a little bit about why I believe in God. But another thing is this: hope. When you're going through and into every life, there's going to be trials and tribulations. You are not better than anybody else. You're going to go through. I don't care who you are. Your heart is going to get broken. Somebody's going to disappoint you. Something's going to happen. You're going to work your butt off for a promotion and be overlooked. It's happened to me several times. But you got to learn how to pick yourself up and move on and not get stuck in that place of doubt and fear and discouragement. You've got to learn how to move in spite of, regardless of, whatever. Because every life isn't going to just be filled with happiness. Happiness is hard work. Happiness doesn't come to you and just plop, here, your spirit of happiness, you got it. It takes work. It really does. I choose to be happy. I could choose to be unhappy, or I could allow myself to be unhappy. But I have whatever I say I have in my life, that's what I have. I make my own rewards. That's a godly principle, and it is a principle that is true whether you believe in God or not. It's just a fact. If you feed yourself a bunch of negativity, your whole life is going to be filled with darkness and in shadow, because that's the reward of your thought process. The problem a lot of times is what we allow to enter into our minds. It's what we allow to subject ourselves to. If you surround yourself in darkness, what do you expect is going to happen to you? You need something that motivates you, encourages you, inspires you to push forward, to press towards whatever mark that is that you're trying to press for. That comes from within. I had a young lady once, and I'm going to get back to what else I told this counselor about hope. I had a young lady tell me that she wanted to be married. Why isn't God sending me a husband? I want to be married. The same woman she had Asperger's syndrome. And if you don't know what that is, it's a subtle form of autism. But she was high functioning. Excuse me. One moment. So this young woman says, I want to be married. I want to have a husband. I don't want to be alone. But her level of autism made her have some issues with people. If you touched her, she would scream. Literally, like you burned her. She would scream like she was in pain. And I asked her about that, because one time I touched her and she shrieked away from me and she screamed. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And she says, I don't like it when people touch me. Don't touch me. Why? Why can't I touch you? Because it burns. It burns. Okay. Why does it burn? And she said, it burns because I don't know why you're touching me. Why are you touching me? So I said, okay. And she goes, it fills me with anxiety, because I'm like, this person just touched me and I don't understand why. And I don't understand the meaning behind this touch. Is it a good touch? Is it a bad touch? And she says in her mind, when things happen to her, stimulations occur with her, her brain begins to process that, and it asks all these questions, and she has to find the right bucket to put it in. And she said, and it's so difficult to even wake up in the morning. It's hard to get out of bed, because I'm like, what's the purpose? Should I even get out of bed? What's going to happen to me today? What am I setting myself up for? So listening to her, I was like, wow, I'm grateful that I don't have that experience, because that's kind of difficult. But I submitted to her. I said, what makes you think that God is going to send you a husband? Wherein would he be obligated to send you a husband? And she said, I don't understand what you're talking about. She says, God loves me, so why wouldn't he send me what I asked for? I said, so because God loves you, that means he has to love somebody less? Because men like to touch their women. And if you have this problem and you doubt him one day, and you're screaming and shirking because he touched you, and you greet him like this every morning, don't you think that his life with you would be a torment? So God should hate some other person so much because he loves you more? That doesn't, it just, it was inconceivable for me. I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me. And she was looking at me like, I never thought about that. I said, well, don't you think that you need to first work on you and get you ready for that husband? And don't you think that now is a time, since he's not here yet, you can start working on you now. So while the Lord is preparing him, he's also preparing you. And then it can happen for you and you could be happy. And this young lady learned to like my touch because she started to understand that I did genuinely love her. And that was of the utmost importance to her. And people with Asperger's syndrome, they always have to be right. The ones that I have met, they always have to be right. And they will study a thing and research a thing until it can't be researched again because they do not like being wrong. And this young woman was a piece of work. Oh my gosh, she was a piece of work. Very difficult, very combative young lady. Once she said to me that she challenged me because I was a trainer, and she challenged the authority that I had over a project we were working on. And she was very, very angry. She wanted to fight. And I was like, little girl, we can do this because, see, you don't know me. You don't know me. And we can do this, and somebody can put a little pink slip on my desk because if you really want to meet me, we can go outside and you can get to know who I am. Because that's what I do. No, you're not going to come at me in a threatening manner, and I'm not going to defend myself. And she wants to argue with me on the floor in the workplace. And that's so unprofessional for me. I was like, no, she's taking me places. Lord, she about to catch these hands, and they will be unrepentative because you asked, I'm going to give the people what they want. That's another thing about me. I like giving people what they want. I'm going to try to work with you, but if you're telling me you want something else, I'm going to give you what you want. Sometimes that backfires on people. That's another story. I'm not going to get into it because I'll be distracted. But anyway, what helped this young woman learn to receive my touch was we had these altercations. We had like 3 or 4 little episodes. And one day she came to me and she says, can you help me? My car is in the shop. I need to go pick up my car and there's nobody else. And I got off a half hour before she did. I'm looking at her. I'm like, okay. And she goes, but I don't get off until 5. I'm like, it's okay. I'll wait. So she's like, okay, thank you. So I wait for her to get off. I'm in her car. I said, if you don't mind, I have to go pick up my daughter from daycare. And it was on the way to take her to get her car. She's like, okay, cool. So we get in the car. We pick up my daughter. My daughter's sitting in the back seat. I introduce my daughter to this young woman, and my daughter looks at her kind of funny when she hears her name, but she doesn't say anything. So we get in the car and we're driving, and then my daughter has an inquiring mind. She's very inquisitive, and she will ask, you know how children do. So my little precious pipes up from the back seat. She goes, Mom, is this the so-and-so that you talk about at home? Yes. But you don't like her. This is the one that you hate her. I said, number one, I don't hate anybody. She goes, yeah, but you don't like her. So why is she in our car? And I said, this is the thing. One thing has nothing to do with another. If someone asks you for help and you're in a position to help them, then you help them. I said, so it matters not to me that I find her distasteful. She asked me for help. I'm in a position to help, so I have extended my services. So my little baby sat back and she says, And then the young lady, she's sitting in the front, she starts crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? She said, because that is the most beautiful thing I have ever heard. And she says, people aren't like that. You're weird. And She goes, and I was reluctant to ask you, but I had nobody else. And I was shocked when you said yes. And I was so grateful and so happy. I said, you have made it difficult for me to get along with you. Very difficult. I said, but what I like about every person alive is the soul. Your soul is important to God. Therefore, as a child of God, and I acknowledge being a child of God, that soul is important to me. So I'm not responding to your person. I'm responding to your soul, what's in you. And we became very good friends after that. And that's how she was able to receive my touch. So what I was submitting to my daughter's counselor was that I have had conversations with my daughter. And she would get very depressed. And it's hard for her to come up out of this depression. And it's a dark place when she goes in. And she will say, I just want to die. And my child did attempt suicide once for different reasons. But anyway, she did. And I was talking to her this particular day when she was telling me, I get so discouraged. I get so full of anxiety that I'm just tired because living hurts. And I said, okay. Living is hard. Living isn't easy. It's a choice you have to make every day to decide to live. And she goes, and so if it's this hard, then there is no God. And I said, I believe there is. But why? I said, because what I'm hearing from you is hopelessness. There's no hope for you. You don't believe that there's a God. So there's no one for you to pray to, and there's nothing for you to hope for. How can you hope for a better day when there's nothing for you? This is it. So yeah, that's bleak. That's just despair. That's just torment. That's hell. And I said, and what you're saying to me, it's terrifying even to just hear it. So I can't imagine living it. I said, and then also your life has no meaning. Your life has no purpose. God helps you. A belief in God gives you a purpose, because when things aren't going your way, or even things aren't turning out the way they should, or you're going through something unexpectedly, something very difficult, a belief in God will have you saying, well, you know what? Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I might be sad tonight, but in the morning time, the sun's going to rise, I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to smile. I'm going to be better. You set goals for yourself that you can attain and that you can grasp and that you can believe in. My belief in God gives my life purpose. So I now have a purpose-driven life. I am driven with my life's purpose. And that inspiration and that drive is what motivates me to keep moving forward, despite whatever happens to me, whatever I feel, whatever I see. I don't know how many people watched the Game of Thrones. The little young girl, her name was Arya. She became the person who killed the Night King. By now, everybody should know. So, spoiler. Anyway, when she was younger, she had this list, and the Hound was helping her get to wherever she was going. I can't remember. But he told her, okay, it's time to get some rest. And she goes, I can't sleep until I complete my list. And he's like, well, what list is this? And she says, it's a list of everybody I'm going to kill. So he's like, fine, name your list. So she names the people on her list. And the last name she said was his name. But this gave her life purpose and drive, because she was going through some stuff and she was enduring some things that, for a lesser person, they would have just laid down and died. But she's like, no, I got stuff to do. I have a purpose-driven life. I got to kill these people. Even if what drives you and what motivates you is a goal that is as dark as hers, that's fine. And in the end, did she kill the Hound? No. She and the Hound developed a bond, a very good relationship, because you never know. But you got to put your hand to the plow and don't turn back. Don't turn back. Just keep moving forward no matter what. And know that your life has purpose, and know that there's meaning in your life. And there are those out there that, truthfully, I believe they really are depressed, but they like it. They like being sad and depressed, and they don't want help. I was just watching a movie the other day. Can't remember the name of it, but in this movie, this woman lied to her daughter, told her she had all these ailments and that she couldn't walk, had her in a wheelchair, had her on a feeding tube, told her she couldn't eat and that she couldn't have sugars and she was allergic to sugar. It just ruined her life. And this young lady killed her mom. She loved her mom, but she killed her because she wanted to get out. She knew her mom was lying, and she knew she could walk. She knew she could because she had done it. But why did she never run away from her mom? Because she couldn't. Her mom was all she knew. She loved her mom. She didn't want to hurt her mom. She could have got up at any point and walked out that front door or stood up and yelled. But she loved her mom, and she was preconditioned to live because her mind. And that's what makes us prisoners, is our thought process. In my psyche, I have never been a slave. Bondage is not in my psyche. So when I go somewhere, yes, as a black woman, I have been persecuted for the color of my skin. But I'm still just as arrogant as I want to be. I'm still just as empowered as I want to be, because in my mind, bondage is not in my psyche. It's just not going to happen. And when the time comes for me to defend myself, I will defend myself fiercely, because I love Danny. I love her more than anybody else is ever going to love her. And that's what it comes down to. I made a choice to love myself. Now, I was not always like this. This also was a learned behavior. I didn't come out of my mother's womb and say, I'm going to love me. No. True story, when people ask me about my birth, or they even come up to me, you could even just come up to me just randomly and say, I have a question. I'm like, I have the answer. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. How did I get to be this fine? Well, okay, this is what happened. True story. When I was being born, my mother was in the hospital, and there was a mantle hovering over the hospital, and it was a mantle of fineness. In its hovering, the mantle started to become weary, desired to rest. And the mantle says, well, I need to rest upon someone, because I am too fine to just stay out here hovering through eternity. I need to rest. I need to rest so I could be made manifest. So the mantle came inside the hospital. And as I was coming out of the birth canal, it looked upon me and decided, I shall rest upon this being. And that's how it happened. That's how I got to be this fine. True story, okay? I'm telling you, it just, oh my gosh. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I'm Danny Daniels. Have a blessed day. If you're going to make any choices today, choose life. Choose to have life and live it more abundantly. Choose to prosper. Choose to get out of this imprisonment in your mind. Get yourself out of that cage. Come on out here and live a little bit. Have a great day.